about ARC's Robotaxi research, which Elon really thinks is very close to that. Few people know here that Justin, welcome to the stage, has a very complete Robotaxi research as well. And you've been following the FSD. You have a great schedule. You've been tracking everything that's been happening. And after the two interviews that happened this week, both Franz and Elon, does anything change there, or where are we at in your timeline?
I've missed both of those. I didn't watch them yet, I hate to say. So I'm not caught up.
Okay, but go ahead and tell about your FSD research and your robotaxi model.
Yeah.
Where are we at with that?
Sure. So I mean, in general, right? I've been the original research report that I put out was like in 2021, and I had an updated version for this year. Based on the flurry of updates and green lighting of various initiatives in March and April by Elon. um, because I started wondering, like, what did he see, right? And when he confirmed that he was able to see up to 3 to 6 months ahead of what the public sees in terms of FSD and its capability, um, I knew that he saw something, because if you work backwards and you reverse engineer the timelines. He said in April, okay, the unveil is going to be in August. That's 4 months, and then he thinks production would begin in the second half of 2025. Just to build in some room. Um, and so what that kind of told me was that he's extrapolating to the point where he believes autonomy will be solved, obviously prior to the production of the cybercab. Otherwise, that would be kind of awkward, right? If they end up having to like repeatedly delay the cybercab production, or worse, they produce them and they're not using them. So in general, I got a sense that Elon, like when he acts on an impulse, it's usually for very, very good reason. And so that's why I kind of just took it as a signal. And obviously, this was, after Q1, which was really terrible. Everyone remembers that we were down 40% year to date, while all the indexes in Mag 7 were at all-time highs, and it was a very painful period. And obviously, we've broken out since, but ever since April, um, I kind of had the, I kind of suspected that what we will end up doing is retesting the 220 level, which is that kind of multi-year downtrend line, more or less. We'd break out, retest, and then the great repricing would begin. That was kind of my general estimate, because the reason is the way that I view the robotaxi business and how I'm anticipating investors will view it is comparable to a expected value formula. So in statistics, right, you basically take the probability of something happening, times the value of it happening. Um, and so in the case of autonomy, right, it's a very binary type of outcome. It either happens or it doesn't. Or it happens in 20 years or it happens in 5 years. So the problem inherently with this business is that you can't assign a high degree of confidence to your projections. And therefore, the discount rates that are applied in a financial valuation model are going to be likely very high. Because when I calculate it, across different scenarios, I come up with an intrinsic value of something to the tune of $200 to $300 in today's in present value in today's price. And that's being very conservative across my model, across various assumptions. So I figure, we probably have a lot to bake in, a lot to price in. That's why, you know, I kind of had that perspective. And I think obviously we got caught up this last 3 weeks now, with not just that black swan event of the Robotaxi event getting delayed, but then also we had the topping in the indexes with the QQQ, and since then have had a 3 week sell off. So that's actually a good thing, in my opinion, because if Tesla was just going down 20% like it has over this past 3 weeks, with the indexes kind of flat or even going higher, I would be really concerned. But the fact that everything has pulled back, that's really great. And so because we're retesting 220 now, basically it comes down to FOMC tomorrow. Tom Lee believes that we should see a 5 to 6% rally in the indexes over the following 5 to 10 days thereafter. So we should get a good lift. And then I think Mark Newton, who obviously you've interviewed a couple times now, and they were both phenomenal YouTube videos, by the way. But his perspective is basically that we're going to rally into August, have some sort of election cycle weakness starting in September into November, and then he said, obviously, Tesla will be should have some of its largest growth between November and summer of next year. So I think overall, just to summarize, overall, I feel pretty good, and I think a lot of things that I laid out is most likely going to come true. So we'll just see. I think a lot of people like to get caught up in the day-to-day price action. I'm completely blind to it. So we can have another conversation maybe in a couple months.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much, Justin, for that. All right, let's go back to Elon, right? So he obviously is very, very involved these days. It feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but he's every single day talking about FSD and Robotaxi and, is sharing information. What do you guys think about that? Is he back like a vengeance? Is he focused? It sure seems to me that that's what's happening these days. Do you want to answer that first, Jeff?
I mean, I don't think it's ever been properly characterized. I mean, I think, has he had more distractions before? Yes, but none of us understand how somebody at his level and capacity and capability actually works. I'm not discounting that he wouldn't have been more distracted at certain points of time than others, but to say he's not in it, I don't think that ever. Because you wouldn't have any of this stuff. All this stuff is multi-year planning, both on this software side, the tech side, the supply chain. You wouldn't have any of this stuff. So yeah, I think it's great though. But the level of engagement in his dialogue, he seems like he's just literally hovering over the target as it relates to FSD. You can tell he's into every detail on that. You can tell that he's into the details of this upcoming event and just the whole Robotaxi system and network. And you can tell he's all over the bot. So he's definitely all over Tesla stuff. But again, I think that was more of a kind of a media and even a retail community perception issue of people putting themselves in his shoes and how would they work? Well, it's not your typical 40-hour week.
Yeah, that's really well put, Jeff. I don't think he ever left, and people comparing themselves is exactly what I was thinking. It's a complete difference when a CEO who's built a rocket company that everyone thought would fail, and a technology company that's evolving rapidly, and yeah, sure, X took up some of his bandwidth, but to state that he was gone and then to say, oh, now he's back, I think that's a mistake. He has generals and he has a C-suite executives and all those fancy names for getting things done. I pay a bookkeeper. I used to do my own books. I used to do my own taxes. I don't do those things anymore because my attention should be spent on something that is interesting to me and actually requires my attention, like my businesses that are breaking, or a door handle that falls off. I have two choices. I could pay people to take care of it for me, or if I want to be involved and repair something because it's the most efficient way to do it, I'll do that. So I just think he manages his attention the way that he sees fit. And for us to sit here and armchair quarterback what he does with his time, I think it's misguided, and we should really let Elon be Elon.
Yeah. And then John, you've communicated with him quite often. Did you notice any difference in the last interviews? John, if you're not there, then I'll jump to you, Alexandra.
I mean, I explained for years now that I just don't think Elon, nor any of the important CEOs these days, should be measured on a 40 hours per week scale. I think I brought that example last year. It's like if you're asking Beethoven how many hours did he use of his days to compose his music. Elon is an extreme workhorse, works long hours, and is very concentrated to take decisions in a very short lapse of time. And so all these people that felt like he was absent, I always tried to tell them, so how come Shanghai is working? He's rarely put his feet there. Was he supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning and check people in and, like Sander said, do the accounting and repair the door handle? I mean, this is all complete crap. So I never had the feeling he was, off focus. But obviously, we had a lot of noise around his other missions, mainly X. And I mean, so many people hate on Elon being on X, being political on X, and all that. So that's the noise that this all creates. I'm not even sure, and I hope he doesn't follow up that people what after then say about it. And so posting for a couple of minutes or even half an hour per day, well, let the man do what he wants to do. So obviously, if you ask me, does he spend more time nowadays in Austin than he did for a while? Yes, because his presence, his physical presence was for a while in San Francisco because X needed that physical presence. That doesn't mean that Tesla, Austin, Shanghai, or wherever else was lacking of anything. Is he currently laser focused there because there's so much happening? Of course, the South Side expansion is happening. Then obviously the data center in Memphis, both for the one in Memphis for XAI and the one in Austin have to be put in place. I mean, there's so much going on. Let's not talk about Starship and all the rest. So do I like to see him being more in Austin than somewhere else? Of course. But again, I just don't want people to have this wrong attitude of counting hours or trying to extrapolate where his plane lands that means whatsoever. I just, he makes decisions the moment the decisions listen to Franz. Franz has been there since 2008, so 16 years. He still calls him the leader. He still tells us that the one kicking ass is Elon. So that's all that matters. All the rest doesn't matter. All the other people out there that think they know better and they should run Tesla, shut up and get back to your normal jobs.
Love it. Okay. Although we obviously opine and we think they should invest more in AI. They should do this. But I personally think that I'm very happy to see what Tesla's doing in XAI, what Elon's doing for AI. It's the largest supercomputer in the world, just went online in 19 days. In Memphis for XAI, the South Center in Giga Texas is moving at lightning speed, and just the number of compute. And of course, doubling down on Dojo and buying as much as they can. They're using their money in the right way. And so we're, and then of course, this concept about him saying, should we do an investment in XAI? All that is in the right direction. As far as I'm concerned, what does the panel here think about that? Anybody want to comment on that?
I mean, I can start. I don't mind starting on XAI. Yeah. I think it's a very good idea because we all would have loved it to start within Tesla. There are good reasons. Elon explained what the good reasons are, that there is just none of those engineers, that those highly paid and very ambitious AI engineers would have come to XAI if it would have been part of Tesla. Tesla is for them a huge boat, a mega cap that doesn't, easily double its value nowadays, and they want to make money. They're in it for a startup that in the end will IPO, where they're going to become really rich. And Tesla was not going to give that to him. They should have come 15 years ago to Tesla if that was that. So there's a clear reason why it wasn't possible to attract high talent, and that was what was everything else you can buy, but the high talent you need to recruit, and therefore it had to be a standalone startup. Now, and you remember that, if I remember right, the X investors that invested in Twitter have now 25% of XAI, right? Is that the way it goes? Well, anyway, so that is one setup. And Tesla needing the language models, but also what is coming afterwards, meaning generalized artificial intelligence. We want to have a part of it. And if we want to have a part of an AI company, and I think Omar said it best, we're the only one of the 7 the Magnificent Seven that doesn't have an AI stake. Tesla doesn't have an AI stake yet. So I think it's important to invest there. I think the upside potential is enormous. The only thing I want to caution about is that we get it at the right price. I mean, I just believe there's currently such a hype for AI companies. I don't want to buy it at the highest price of the year. I want to make sure it's valued in a fair manner. And if we can get for those 5 billion that are circulating, we think that's the number that Elon had in his poll, a stake between 15 and 20% of XAI, well, then even better. I don't think it's the only way to get XAI's knowledge, and because there could just be contracts between the two companies, but I think we actually want to be part of the upside of XAI. And I rather buy an AI company. I mean, I, as being a shareholder of Tesla, I rather buy an AI company where Elon is the leader than anything else.
Okay. And Xander, were you jumping in?
No, I was going to make a joke and say that you were putting me to sleep. The setup of the question was so long, and no one wants to answer it. But
oh, sorry about that. All right, I think we already asked this question to Jeff and Omar. Hopefully, he's up here because I wanted to ask him that question. Yeah, so XAI and AI. Let's stay on that topic for a little bit. Jeff, you want to answer that?
I mean, I kind of agree just how Alexandra ended it, which is, it's kind of an option call on Elon, and that these projects that XAI are working on are going to terminate in the bot. They're going to terminate in the car. They're going to terminate into X, which is where it already is today, and so there's going to be synergies, and you'd want the best total complete system. I just have to step back. What are we buying? What are we getting? What are the terms? What does this actually mean? I haven't seen that. It's right now. It just sounds like, hey, it's a good idea to invest in XAI. Elon can go out to the capital markets and get money however, whenever he wants. The question is what does that link into Tesla get us from an exclusivity or capability perspective, or is it just, basically like my shares in Tesla now have, a company that's working on solving for, general intelligence in the language model side. So those are the things that come to my mind. I'd want to see the terms and really understand more of what we're getting, and if it's a really interesting kind of deal. And again, I would lean back on it. So you're betting on Elon too, which is, I'll leave it there.
Okay.
If you want to talk to your optimists, what is the current way to do that in the Tesla world?
There's no way. What do you mean?
What I mean is, Elon has stated that you will be able to give voice commands to both your Cybercab and our Robotaxis and Optimus. So you need a large language model, don't you, to be able to have your robot become your companion and someone you can talk to. So while I know it's commoditized and it's you had Facebook give out their secret sauce for free and basically kill the financial aspect of the business. In my opinion, $5 billion is, well, in the grand scheme of things of where the valuation will be in the future for Tesla, it just seems like it's really good marketing and it's on brand, and that link between XAI. I know I said the counter on stage just to ask the questions, but I really think that it's a worthwhile investment in that link to a technology company versus a car company. You heard it in the Jordan Peterson interview. It's even to people that respect and understand. It's still, that's the highest revenue portion of the business, so we're going to continue to call you that. And I think Alexandra's point about 2026 and that link occurring, or that change occurring with the S&P to be now classified as a technology company versus and the basket that would put us in. I'd love to hear, Alexandra, what were those numbers you gave, the 12x of money that's going to be invested?
I actually checked those. I was a bit optimistic on Sunday, on Saturday. So it's about 30 trillion that are in consumer discretionary. So we're part currently of the consumer discretionary basket. If you look at the boards, how the daily stocks are classified. So we're with the GMs and the Fords of this world in the consumer discretionary market, and we will move at one point to the tech market. There is no doubt in my mind. I don't think they'll move us to the energy market soon. They should, but they won't. So by moving from one basket to the other, we're moving from a 30 trillion basket to a 270 trillion basket, if I remember it right. So a ninefold. So just by that move, 9 times more index funds have to now include Tesla. I mean, some of those funds already have an S&P exposure, so already may have some Tesla, but S&P is an S&P 500, where we are barely 2%. In the tech sector, we're going to be one of the top 10. And so that move from a consumer discretionary index fund to a tech index fund should be much more consequential. I mean, at least as much, but I think much more consequential than the S&P inclusion of 2020. And my prediction is that that is going to happen in 2026. I explained that at the X Takeover in detail. I don't know when John is going to release those videos, but you can then watch that. But it seems clear to me that by 2026, car production is not going to be the main revenue bringer and not going to be the main profit bringer. The main profit bringer will be sooner, but they will wait as much as they can. I have tweets out there, and I can repost those on who decides. And you're right, Sander, part of that is S&P. The other side, it's actually a combined committee between S&P and MSCI. And it can actually be requested by the company. They do their waffling around only once a year. They did it last year in March. They haven't done it at all yet this year. So I'm keeping an eye on it. I don't expect anything to happen for Tesla this year. I don't even expect it to happen next year, because I don't think they will give us any credit too early. But by 2026, I think it's going to be our moment to move up baskets.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Yeah, wealth of information. I don't know if there's something that... Okay.
How big is the energy basket, if you know off the top of your head?
That's actually a good question. I don't know. I will check that out. I think it is big. It's bigger than because all the petrol companies and all the crap is in there. So I think it's bigger than a consumer discretionary.
So keep us informed if there's anything that consumer retail community can do to help push that forward. But Alexandra, didn't you know that Jim Cramer called us a tech company this morning?
Oh, no, go away. So that's 2027 then.
Oh, damn it.
Okay. I think he should retire. I mean, don't you all agree that he has really deserved a really beautiful retirement now?
Yeah, take him fishing.
No, guys. All right. So we got Omar here. Omar, we're talking about XAI for now. We had lots of conversations about other things, of course. And one of the things you said that both Alexander and I liked was when you said that of the top, the Mag 7 right now, Tesla's the only one that doesn't have an investment or some sort of relationship with or deeper connection with. What's your thoughts on all this?
Well, obviously, provided the right terms, the right valuation, that needs to be seen. We need to see the details, but I'm for the deal in principle. If you look at XAI's recent fundraising round, Valor Equity Partners, Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia Capital, Fidelity, Prince Alweed bin Talal, these guys aren't idiots. I mean, maybe the last one is. I don't know him very well. But they've discussed this. They've got a plan here, right? This is Elon Musk we're talking about. And I'm just thinking about this in the sense of Tesla, right? I think that Tesla is a company that has some really groundbreaking AI products. But the language model is going to be a key piece of the puzzle. right? So we need the cars to be able to talk to people. If somebody says, hey, pull over right here, I think I'm going to throw up. Or, hey, you made a wrong turn over there. Or stop right now, you're about to hit something. The system needs to be able to understand and talk with people in pretty much any language. For Optimus, voice is going to be the primary interface, really, in giving it instructions. So it really needs to be able to understand voice. If you tell Optimus, hey, go to the grocery store, it needs to be able to go and talk to people, understand human language. There's no doubt this is going to be a key piece of the puzzle. So, what language model should we use in our products? We've got a few different choices. One, we can use OpenAI or Anthropic or one of the closed models. Not a good strategy because then you're paying OpenAI boatloads of money to use their model. We could use something like Llama 3, which is available and you can use it, but it's made by Meta. Do we necessarily want to be depending on Meta to train our language model for us? Probably not. Probably good to do it in-house or do it in the family at least. Now, do we want to build up a cluster of 100,000 GPUs to train our own language model? No, this would be a horrible idea. We would swing the company into a loss. I mean, just do the math on what it takes to spin up a 100,000 GPU data center, right? 100,000 GPUs times $40,000 per H100 is something like, $4 billion, plus the time and cost of actually getting a facility, renting it, putting everything together. I mean, this is a giant machine. It doesn't come together overnight. That alone, just the cost of the H100s is billions of dollars. So Tesla right now has just under 40,000 H100s in their cluster, and they're expanding to around just under 90,000 before the end of the year. So would it make sense for us to build a 100,000 GPU cluster to train a state-of-the-art LLM? No, we need to focus those LLMs on full self-driving. So the fact that there's already another company that Elon's running and they're training an LLM, sure, put $5 billion into that company. Use their LLM in your products without having to spend the billions of dollars yourself. And they can go and take that money and build an even bigger cluster, train an even bigger model. And it's not really your issue. You have the equity, one of two things happens. Either the equity is worth less or the equity is worth more. If the equity ends up being worth less, it is not going to kill the company. $5 billion, they got 30 billion in cash, they're getting more. Let's say the equity value declines by 50% or more. It's going to be unfortunate, people will be upset, but it's not going to be the end of the world. If it works out, then the equity could double, triple, appreciate considerably. That's going to be reported on the bottom line. So in the spirit of owning and controlling all core technologies, this equity investment seems like a really good way to have our language model trained by a friendly sister company, to have an equity stake where we can control, we can vote, we can have a seat at that table, but where we don't need to actually put those 100,000 GPUs on our balance sheet, and we can focus on solving self-driving, training the models Optimus needs, and use xAI's Grok for the Tesla voice assistant, as well as an FSD. And I'll just point people to the Grok vision paper that they published online. These language models are not just actually for talking and for language, but they're actually developing pretty powerful vision capabilities as well. And I think that this is going to be really key actually to solving self-driving. Like, I think the next step in FSD 13, so to speak, is sort of merging these vision language models with FSD to create a driving model that understands the world and has background context in a way we've never seen before. So, right now there's all this sort of jealousy. Hey, why is xAI getting this compute cluster? Why are you doing this with them? Why are they getting this? It's very much like two kids fighting over toys, right? have them take an equity stake in each other, and no more. XAI's victories are our victories. And guess what? You can structure the deal in a way where it doesn't really cost Tesla anything. They don't even have to pay $5 billion in cash. I would say issue $5 billion in equity and give it to XAI, and they can sell that as they need to, build up more infrastructure, or they can just have a cross equity holding in Tesla. And I think, as a shareholder, I just think, what am I going to regret more? Investing in this thing or not investing in this thing? And, if I regret investing it, okay, we lost a few $1 billion. You know, they've lost money on Bitcoin trades. Did it really make a difference? But imagine if the thing 10x is in value and we as shareholders passed up the opportunity to invest in it. We'd probably feel pretty stupid.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh, Omar, appreciate that so much. You have any thoughts on the interviews that both Franz and Elon just did at the X Takeover? Did you watch it? Did you see anything there that was interesting to you?
Yeah, I mean, he gave some really interesting comments. A lot of little things, like I'm excited for FSD on the Cybertruck, but more than anything, I mean, it seems like they've got some really crazy new products that they're about to show us in the next couple months that nobody's talking about. A more affordable Tesla model. Hello? I mean, this is like the next step after the Model 3, and it's supposedly not unveiled in the first half of next year, going into production the first half of next year. And people are just asleep. They're unveiling a driverless car without physical controls. And by the way, their software is so good that it can actually power this vehicle now. And nobody's really paying attention. Nobody really takes it seriously. So I was saying this moment feels like 2016 or 2017 if the Model 3 had started production or was beginning to ramp and people didn't believe it was real. So I'm really excited to see what they unveil in the October event. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah. That was fantastic. And then, what's your thoughts on Elon? So you saw that he was initially a little bit stressed. We interrupted him on a Sunday. Then he just loosened up and he started to just have fun. He was talking about, it's like as if we have a cat, but my cat can sing and dance, and it's sentient. And he's, the Robotaxi is going to be the greatest thing that's going to impact society, specifically the Robotaxi vehicle. Thoughts on those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's right. Obviously, the guy is a visionary. He's such a visionary that he actually sounds nuts a lot of the time. But I mean, just look at this thing with Pure Vision self-driving. He said, "We're going to do this with Pure Vision." Everyone said, "You're nuts." They've shipped virtually every feature that they said they were going to ship, even going back to 2016 cars. They've been able to do it. And because he did what everyone told him was crazy, you're now going to have self-driving software running on millions more cars than would have otherwise. And, even if, for example, they, prevent crashes for, let's say, 1% of those, that's tens of thousands of people, right? So him sort of being way ahead of the curve on this is going to result in a lot of people who probably should have been dead that won't be. And I think like he's right, identifying Optimus as a just enormous multi-trillion dollar market. And him saying this is going to be something that we really look at as a turning point in history. Not really even a stock market story, but wow, okay, when we got to a point where labor became completely artificial, that's sort of a industrial revolution like turning point. And I mean, I think he's right. There's this huge market that's emerging, which is robotics. And it's such a big market that it's going to make everything else, including cars, look like peanuts by comparison. And that's the difference between a great CEO and a fucking legendary CEO. A great CEO says, how can we dominate the EV space? A legendary CEO says, what's the space that doesn't exist yet that we need to dominate in the future?
Love it. We have Bradford Ferguson here. I'm going to put you to the ringer, Bradford. You posted a tweet right after you were able to test 12.5, and you said it is done. Okay, that's a little bit out there. Can you defend yourself?
Yeah, I think you all know me as pretty balanced, that generally I don't hype a whole lot. So when I'm speaking in absolutes like that, it tends to get some attention. What I meant by that is it's extremely good, and I see the path to the finish line for Tesla. So that's what I meant by it is done. It feels like they have figured it out. So it's just like the final work they need to do, which is a lot of work. There's a lot of data they have to wrangle. It's complicated work, but the car literally drove me better than I could drive it. It drove extremely smooth. So like I didn't really notice the car accelerating or decelerating in the roundabout. I didn't notice much forward or reverse jerk or side to side jerk. So like it was just like extremely smooth. And I've been in Carmel, Indiana, where I am for 18 years now. I've been driving roundabouts for a long time, and it drives it better than me now, which really shocked me and earned my respect. And that's what I was talking about there. It drives like a chauffeur, and I would say not a local. So like chauffeurs are just supremely experienced and smooth with their driving. They're not aggressive when they choose to go, and they're very measured. So I just thought it was extremely bullish, 12.5, and I'm excited to see the tweaks and adjustments from here, because I think they're on like tweak mode. The only thing that concerns me is like Tesla adding reverse into it all. But I'm hearing good things about reverse as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, thank you, Bradford. And you do things so pretty incredible. I'm very impressed that you even tried to do 85 roundabouts. You have the patience to do something like that. So who on the panel has 12.5? I know Jeff does. I think Sat might. I don't know if Omar even tests FSD, so we'll go to him last. Jeff, what's your experience so far? I know this is all anecdotal, but it's what we have.
I'm in the car now. I mean, I'm on my 8th drive in a row that's been perfect. I haven't had to touch anything. I'm in the Midwest. I've never had 2 drives in a row. I'm not sure I had 1 drive in a row, to be honest with you, that was intervention free before this 12.5 series. Today I got 12.5.1. I was on 12.5 since I guess Thursday of last week. So, and I was obviously traveling the weekend, but yeah, I every day I've been in the car, and it's my 8th trip. I've been counting them, and I haven't had to touch anything.
Dude, how do you choose? I mean, do I go with my Cybertruck or do I test FSD? And it seems like they're testing FSD instead of the Cybertruck since you came home.
Yeah, I try to alternate, but yeah, these are first world problems.
It's a
2 weeks
general
left
problem.
of this problem.
Yeah, we'll get through it. But yeah, it's truly impressive, and it looks like it's scalable. And like I agree with Bradford's commentary. It looks like like you could see like where this terminates, and like it's pretty exciting.
Okay, go ahead, Bradford.
Yeah, not financial advice, but like how sick is it that we see how good this latest version is, and the stock essentially has gone nowhere.
I couldn't agree more, Bradford. And we need to stop hyping it up because I'd like to buy more
Well,
shares.
yeah. Are we actually hyping this up? Who wants to go next, Sat or Omar? I mean, Omar, you've tested every single FSD version since I think you were the first 30. You might have been the first. I don't know. You tell me. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Go
I've
ahead.
spent hours in cruise driverless cars, Waymo driverless cars, testing every version of FSD. The end-to-end framework will be able to drive at a safety level greater than a human. It's pretty obvious now. You just sort of look at the trend, right? Everybody's only seen this first update, 12.3. So everybody saw that jump from 11 to 12. This is another 11 to 12 caliber jump, if you can believe that. This model's 5 times larger. It drives more like human. And I mean, it does almost every drive perfectly. It does it smoothly. It does it like a professional chauffeur, more smoothly than you could do it. And you start to see it noticing things before you do, reacting to things before you do, handling really complex scenarios with ease. Now, of course, this doesn't mean it's going to be 100% perfect, right? I think a lot of people they've come into Tesla from the automotive side of the business and they don't know how to ask the right questions on autonomy. The right questions sort of elude them, and if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. Like a lot of times I hear people say, well, it still had an intervention. I had an issue I had to take over. Or, it still made this mistake, even maybe a safety critical mistake. And it's a given. There are going to be mistakes sometimes. That's why it's called FSD supervised. The system's not yet reliable enough to operate without a driver. So, you hear people go, oh my God, I had an intervention. Okay, it's a flop. This version sucks. They're never going to solve autonomy. And they say, Omar, how could you say it was good? I had this issue. Well, it's kind of like saying, Omar, you said this dog was really cute, but then it shit on my rug. Well, dogs tend to do that. FSD supervised tends to do that. What you really want to look at is the trend, right? Interventions are getting more and more rare. Yes, there still are some interventions, but they are getting exceedingly rare. They've got 35,000 GPUs right now. They're putting up another 50,000. They're going to bring it to 85,000. They just trained this model that's 5 times larger, but they haven't started using the extra power of hardware 4. They say hardware 4 could run a model that's even 8 times bigger than this. You have a lot more data coming in now. You have the additional GPUs that they're going to bring up. And then they've got even their AI 5 chip beyond that, that's even 10 times more powerful than hardware 4. Looking at all of these things, you can see that the performance of the software, the rate of interventions, is going to continue to fall without any major engineering breakthroughs, just as they scale up the production of this system. And it's really clear that it's the most advanced self-driving system in the world. People say, well, Omar, Waymo has in their test fleet, according to California data, 18,000 miles per intervention, and Tesla is less than 1,000. So how can you say it's better? But you really have to do an apples to apples comparison. When people are looking at the Tesla data, they're looking at every single place in the world, in the country where it can operate. So they're really looking at miles per intervention on a national scale, whereas they measure Waymo in a very small area of the city where they've already mapped everything out. Give an apples to apples comparison where you really drop a self-driving system anywhere randomly and Tesla wipes the floor with everybody else. You can start to see it exhibiting more human-like driving maneuvers than Waymo can. It's smoother, it's more natural. And it seems like a foregone conclusion to me at this point that they're going to pass both Waymo and humans in terms of miles per intervention. I mean, if you sort of just draw out a chart of miles per intervention and you draw a line where human level is or where Waymo level is, and you just sort of plot out the points, 12.3, 12.5, 12.6. It's clear we're approaching that line rapidly. We're actually accelerating. And pretty much everybody agrees on this. Everybody. The only disagreement is, what is the label on the x-axis of that graph? What is the date when it crosses that line? And nobody really knows. There's legitimate debate there. But pretty much everybody believes that within the next 2 to 4 years, there will be Tesla driverless cars on the road. And they only need to launch in one market for people to realize what's happening and start to do the math on what this business is really worth. And pretty much everybody's underestimating it. You see this FUD from the Wall Street Journal yesterday and others, and they just truly don't understand what we have here. And even just from a licensing perspective, there's no other system in the world that you can license that can do hands-free driving on city streets and highways that works in the US, works in China, and works in Europe. There's pretty much only Tesla. No other system can do it. So I think they've got something really huge here. Hands-free changes everything for people. We've used ADAS for multiple years, but now that you have hands-free driving on city streets and highways, this is a product that is indispensable to the consumer for the first time. And I think people are going to start to take note of that with 12.5 rolling out now wide for the first time.
Okay. Sad, I'll get to you shortly. I do want to ask Jeff and Omar, and then of course Alexandra, to reply to this. I guess it's wrap up the whole conversation a bit. We need to report that Bloomberg had interviewed this guy named William Stein, who's a Truist analyst, and he said that my Model Y accelerated through an intersection and only had almost had a crash. So he was being interviewed by Bloomberg about this. What do you guys know about this situation?
Well, if I heard it right, it's not even his Model Y. I think he took a loaner for a test drive, and that's where it happened. He has no filming of anything. I mean, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But if it is somebody who drove for the first time a Tesla and put on FSD, maybe it was him rather than the car, or maybe it was the car. What do I know?
He was on 12.3.6, and so he was on a version that was released, a couple months ago. And AI world, that's like years in terms of advancements and improvements. Omar just talked through how big these models are and the parameter count and so forth and the implications. So he tested an old model. I think Bloomberg got a hold of the kind of some of our responses and the information of like, hey, you tested something that's basically like obsolete. They're already onto the new thing. You should try it. And the thing that kind of torqued me about this guy, like, he has no background in AI, has no background in any of this. And he was trying to basically comment on like, when is Tesla going to get, they're like, they're nowhere close. I'm like, well, you're really not, shouldn't really be commenting. I mean, you can say whatever you want. It's a free country, but you don't really have the background to be commenting on.
To be fair, Jeff, I mean, Elon said, please, if you're an analyst, go and test this out. It's better for an analyst to try it than not have tried it, right? But it still is a personal, anecdotal experience.
Well, if you're going to write an article on July 29th, use the release that's out, not the the latest one. I mean, go to a Tesla, at least contact somebody and like, am I testing the latest and most representative stuff? I get that a lot of people still have it on their cars, but anyway, just if you're going to write an article on July 29th, like, use the stuff that's out there and the best stuff from the company.
Yeah, like ultimately, who cares of like this one anecdotal experience? This reminds me of when Galley in 2019 made videos about the trajectory of the finances of the business, that they were going to go profitable, and everyone short term is speaking about absolutely the wrong thing. I mean, Omar just nailed it and said exactly the right thing. Look at the trajectory of where we're going. Is it perfect? No. Who's in charge? The human. That's it. That's all that matters. The human is in charge. Once Tesla says that they are responsible, and now it is safe to close your eyes, then we can have these conversations about individual scenarios that will happen. But ultimately, the statistics are what they are. The path to safer than a human is what we're on, and the little outliers are not important for us to debate. It's just noise, and it's anyway. I'll leave it at
I
that.
mean, testing FSD 12.3.6, which is, I mean, what was that, released in January? So testing a version that's 7 months out of date is like trying to test out Twitter using a fax machine, right? I mean, it's just out of date. So you're not going to see, I mean, Tesla internally is testing 12.6, 12.7. They're starting to release 12.5. And you're looking at 12.3. I mean, it's a far worse model than what the cutting edge is. And I mean, it's really just laughable. Like when I see stories like this that are just so silly, I just say, "Thank you, Mr. Market, for publishing this nonsense." Guy goes on TV, "Oh my God, I turned on FSD and I had a takeover." Oh my God, you had a takeover? Breaking news. The guy had to take over to potentially prevent an issue. Here's what you're not seeing. You tried that last year, it would have tried to cause 10 crashes. Okay? Now it tried to cause 1 crash. Next year, how many crashes is it going to be? 0.1? 0.001? This is what people are not understanding. Most other systems like Waymo or Cruise, they won't even let you take it anywhere you want and try things. So Tesla, they expose themselves to much more issues by having a system that can just run anywhere. But ultimately, it's the only way to actually create a system that's resilient and can work anywhere. Someone posted a video, I think it was AI Driver posted some video of a naked man running into the middle of the road and rolling around in the intersection. And he had FSD on and he didn't even have to take over. Go check out that video. So these are the things that Tesla's seeing, that Waymo's not seeing, Cruise isn't seeing, and will help them get to a system that's much safer than anybody else. Now, in order to get there, you have to expose the system to the world, and you are going to have to see those issues emerge in order to discover them and fix them. But the driver monitoring system is so good that the human will be paying attention and be ready to take over. And interventions, especially safety critical interventions, are getting so rare that I bet if he tried this again with the latest version, he would have had probably every drive be 0 intervention.
Okay, and Sat, did you raised your hand earlier?
Yeah, I just wanted to go a little bit into what Omar was saying. Is that I'm in LA and I'm on 12.4.3. If I wanted to let it do more 0 interventions, I can. But there's certain parts where I feel like, oh, it's maybe stopped at this red light too long or unprotected left lane where I think it could go a little faster, so it's safer. So I would disengage. So there's a data point for it. I don't know if it's going to help or not, but I feel like it's not as human-like, so I'm doing certain interventions because we're training the model, right? So it's like where Waymo is like trying to do it where it's completely without a human, and they're trying to do it from the background. So they want to have statistically less interventions to prove that it works. But we're doing supervised, so it's not even apples to apples setup. It's not even the same kind of setup. So we're training it, and then you're doing it naturally. For me in LA, the change is incremental because it's been really great for me most of the time. And just like Omar said, like safety critical stuff, I barely have, like maybe once a month I may have one, right? Like, and it's not even that big of a deal. Like it maybe change a lane to where I didn't want to change, right? That's about it. Whereas when I heard Bradford's story where he has roundabouts, well, I don't have roundabouts, so I wouldn't know, right? In that part of the progress. So in my sense, it's like, well, you're comparing even with the current Waymo Cruise statistics, like there isn't like just because it's numbers, it doesn't mean it's like apples to apple, and the context is different. So when they're making that statistic, say, "Oh, Waymo's so much better," no, it's not because the setup is completely different, and we're testing in different places and we're taking different risks, and that's why when Tesla's FSD is ready, you can use it naturally anywhere. That's how it's going to be set up. Whereas Waymo is going to be good for that one city, and then they have to redo that entire process the next city. And my calculation of Waymo's progress the last 13 years would probably take 1,000 years to get to all of the US at the rate that they're going. So I don't think it's the same business model. I don't think it's the same setup either. So I don't think the comparison into like the miles per intervention is actually statistically like the correct way of looking at it when you're comparing to like Waymo or another system that's completely humanless.
Thank you, Assad. So we have tremendous, lot of people here with incredible information, experts. Appreciate everybody. We'll continue this conversation again next week at the same time.
Could I add something, please?
Oh, please. Yeah.
So next Monday at 4:00 Pacific. Yes, please feel for me in the morning, and 7:00 Eastern. I'll be on Yahoo Finance for 24 minutes. So I don't know the subject yet. They'll give that to me later this week. But if anybody, want to coach me, help me prepare on Sunday, I'm available. And I know Jeff has already proposed, and he'll be my strongest help ever. But if anybody else feels they have, some good input that I should listen to, because my weak point, just to make that very clear, is that I'm still not using FSD. So if those questions come, I will, need to be able to respond honestly but clearly, and I just don't want to give that whole field away. So anybody who wants to help me prepare, I'm most helpful. I'm most grateful for your help.
Again, so grateful for you, Alexandra, and so happy that you're finally, getting up there, representing us. More and more folks like Simon Hale is also up there, and he's representing Tesla well. We need more of us. Sawyer, of course, will need more. So thanks, everybody. And this is Cyber Bulls. And then we also will drop a new show this Friday. And don't worry, it won't have anything to do with what happened this weekend. I promise you, I can control the edit, Alexandra. So
No, we'll tell you, and we'll show those pictures.
no pictures.
And we'll go on strike. Wait, what?
Exactly. You will want us, you will beg us to show those pictures so we don't go on strike. So just watch out.
Oh, you got video? Oh, crap. Get rid of it.
I got video.
Pictures, Herbert. You remember nothing. I brought you home to your hotel. The story.
Yeah, you were my Robotaxi, and I was able to just tell you, take me home.
And I was your Uber.
You didn't tell me anything. You think you told me stuff. You did other things than telling me stuff.
Thank you for taking care of me that night. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.